I look from beyond the glass window as the sinners battle furiously inside the large indoor arena. You damned imbeciles. What's the point of everybody rushing at the same enemy that's already staggered and nearly dead? Man. Faust had attacked that entity first. The blame lies flatly with the others' delayed decisions. Apologies, yet concerned was I that you not dispose swiftly of that foe would. I think this is a great show of teamwork. I had no idea how hopeless the sinners were in battle without my command. Damn it, why won't any of you listen to my orders? Boy, your genius order was how the lass's head ended up dangling from 1/4 of a neck. It was a necessary sacrifice to gain an edge in battle. Worry thee not. How befitting of a hero it is to perish in place of her compatriot. She's getting destroyed. Don Q. What? I don't... That's a weird combination. I'll just say that she said Don. Don Quixote falls before the merciless onslaught of enemies. I had so many things I wanted to say to them, most of which were variations of, "You're doing it wrong," but I had no choice but to watch as their woefully abysmal decisions continued to bungle the fight. If I tried, this researcher next to me will get in my way, claiming that they haven't finished collecting the data. This one's reaction speed to emergencies is exceptionally fast. So, can I help them now? Will you stop pacing and compose yourself? We are almost done. That should be more than enough data. Take control, manager. I had a lot I wanted to say, but let's help the sinners out of this bind first. Lovely. I don't even think I've played Refraction Railway yet. I just unlocked it.
목을 콱 물어버리자고. 깨치시게.
That went well. As expected of our executive manager, the exceptional development of your strategic genius reminds me of the earlier years of my career. Thanks. You, got anything to snack on, guys? I'm starving here after that brawl. You will maintain an empty stomach for the duration of the tests. Next onto the docket is... I would have asked Mersault for a massage if I knew this was coming. Whose idea was this anyway? Well, if you really want to get into it, we can trace this right back to our vacation request. Gregor, not that this wouldn't have happened without that, but yeah. Oh, come on, fellas. There's gotta be more to it than that. Sure there was, not that it would have made any difference. Because, like Ishmael said, this all began with Gregor's particularly egregious stretching. Wow, that sound just now. I didn't know a human body could make a sound like that. Oh, I was just doing some stretches. Can't see it doing without making these noises nowadays. Is your spine alright, dude? Huh? What do you mean you can't? That's right, there's a creaking sound of time's ravages. Oof. I know Dante's been turning the clock to rewind our time, but I feel like my joints are starting to grate. Oh no, she's making an old joke. I know what you mean. I definitely don't feel as spry as I used to. Maybe the pain from repeatedly dying and reviving takes a toll after all. Yeah, dying sure is a pain. That's when Honglu flippantly threw out an innocent comment amidst the complaining why can't I speak? Complaining sinners. Speaking of which, isn't it funny how Don Quixote is totally fine even though she's hundreds of years old? She's got to be the oldest of us by a lot, right? Oh no. Honglu's unprompted catapulting of such a heavy subject brought the busy air inside the bus to a sudden stifling halt. Just called her old. Dang. I thought we were going to take some time to actually broach that subject, but but you just bulldozed through the whole mess, huh? Aha, I must have made things awkward. I didn't realize everyone was so sensitive about their age. That, 'tis not to concern thyself with. Be not so. Of course, there was also someone who could not care less about the bus's air quality. Oi, Scoot, that's my designated seat you're planting your arson. I'll whack ya. On the other hand, here's this guy without a care in the world. Almost makes me wonder if he even remembers what just happened. Well, maybe this is your chance to get back at him for treating you harshly, Don Quixote. I'm sure you can. Think I've never seen your eyes sparkle like that before. Laying down the law on Heathcliff, are ya? Or at least attempting to. I'm quite fond of my current temperament of our company. Unless young Heathcliff here suddenly morphs into a villainous scoundrel, I have nary a wish to exact violence upon him, and... Right, now that that's over with, let's all shut up and keep the chinwag to a minimum, yeah? This is a whole bunch of, like, British stuff, I assume. If I am remembering Wuthering Heights, like, said incorrectly. Not that I read the book. Seems plenty villainously dickish to me. Anyways, am I the only one thinking it's about time we got the thing? The thing? Well, you know, the thing that we tried a while ago but didn't get to enjoy due to some unforeseen issues? Deathmatch. Aw, darn. I guess we have to kill each other now. Not that. Don't you remember? We even played volleyball by that big body of water. Contextual clues suggest that he's making a request for a vacation. Yep, absolutely, yeah. Let's all go to a spa or something. Relax, get massages to loosen up our muscles. Some, please. You still have expectations from our employers? Aha, I recall that young Marcel had given thee quite the exquisite massage, hath he not? I have an astute knowledge of the major muscle groups and the nerve structures of the human body. Good to know. For many weeks following that massage, my body was deprived of any sensory stimulation. Okay, so you broke all your bones. Thus understood, it was the philosophy of Marcel's physical therapy. The most infallible methodology of convalescence from pain is to remove any and all stimulation, including that of pain. Oh dang, so you basically just made it so you couldn't feel anything for a while, instead of an actual massage. It seems that the time is here. Virgilius. Yes, I knew this day would eventually come. The day is here. Why is everyone acting so serious all of a sudden? Rodian's observation is correct. While turning the clock does indeed turn the time, a certain degree of exacerbating fatigue cannot be alleviated. This necessitates that we employ a certain measure to verify the status of each sinner. What could it possibly be that it needs this much buildup? In other words, it is time for Limbus Company's dramatic gulping noise. Regular checkup. Regular checkup? We did get a call from the higher-ups a while ago requesting that we send the sinners in for a regular checkup. It was all repeatedly delayed due to several limiting circumstances on our end. They've been obnoxiously hounding us for quite some time. I was starting to get tired of explaining our absence. Checkup? What checkup? Don't be so on edge, Heathcliff. Such proceedings are regular occurrences at most corporations. I've never personally experienced it myself, but it sounds like they're just checking to see how we're doing health-wise. I turned around, getting ready to say, right, Ishmael? Uh-oh. That looks like there's some fear there. Only to come face to face with Ishmael's shocked expression frozen onto her face. Well, this is unexpected. I thought Ishmael, with her worldly experiences, would leap onto this opportunity to lecture us all about how things work outside Limbus Company. Regular checkups are, oh, you're getting gearing up to explain what it is? Julio. You got 30 seconds to wrap it up. Ready, set, go. No. Not the regular checkup. Miss Ishmael's expression seems to suggest otherwise, Miss Rhodia. I did hear that some fixer offices or associations employ varying methodologies when it comes to regular checkups, depending on their characteristics. Locked up until there's only one left standing. Locked blood of my colleague is the only key to escape. What kind of checkup did you go through? Was it on the boat, or was it while you were looking at your other job? What kind of checkup did you have to go through? Ishmael wasn't the only one responding with a pale-faced, abject horror at the suggestion. Do you even understand what a regular checkup you're getting into? I'm asking if you're prepared to go through the regular checkup, no matter what happens in the process. Are you prepared to endure through everything that? What's wrong with this bloke now? Mate's looking all pale. And I don't understand why everyone's making such a big deal out of it. I don't think it's that bad. Isn't Sinclair like a schoolboy? Like, didn't he just... I don't know the timeline of all things, but did he even finish high school or wherever he was going to? Like, I was thinking about it, it's like, how old is he? Did he just immediately just get picked up after his whole family's massacre? Like, what the heck? I think we used to have an annual health checkups back in school, too. What kind of checkups? They put us all in the same room, measuring heights, weights, running some basic fitness tests. For the wherefore do they seek the measure of such characteristics? Must you really ask? A full knowledge and analysis of each soldier's status is indispensable. Intelligence for officers to have on hand. What soldiers? I was talking about my school. Right, so that don't explain shit about what you need to know, does it? Why they find it necessary to spray people with those stinking chemicals just to see if somebody's got lice in their clothes? He must have gone through his share of rough checkups too as a kid, I guess. You all keep asking questions with the most obvious answers. In fact, I've been wondering when they test us. Otis confidently marched up in front of the sinners with an assertive grin, as though she'd been waiting for this very moment. The true purpose of this checkup must be to elect a true authority among us. Okay, I'm sure. A true authority? By your parlance, true authority, could it be that you are questioning whom among us is our leader? But I'm standing right here. I humbly request you avoid plaguing yourself with unnecessary misunderstandings about my suggestion, executive manager. Of course, I must preface this with the declaration that there cannot be an iota of doubt towards executive manager Dante's authority. Okay. But was this not always a topic of great contention among us? That which of us is most fit to command the squad of sinners? Doesn't Dante do that already, though? Isn't it Ishmael or maybe Faust? That's what I thought too. The lack of cohesion is precisely why we always fail to face our enemies as a team. Always scrambling, always underprepared, always taken by surprise. You must always be ready to drop to the ground and give 500 push-ups whenever your superior commands you to do so. Always maintain the willingness to sacrifice your well-being and life for the sake of glorious victory of your allies. It's all missing. Where is your readiness for self-sacrifice? No one's arguing with you, Otis. Who are you even talking to? Aha! So to summarize, the regular checkup entails putting us all in a small room and making us fight to the last sinner standing. Well, that's what he got from this, and I don't blame him. Silence fell upon us at Honglu's second summary. Battle Royale. I've been looking forward to this. Fuck it, I'll give you lot one hell of a fight. My fist used to be bloody infamous in the back streets. Fine, so that's how we're doing this? I'm ready to roll. Guys, this is it. Okay, so where are we off to? The the regular checkup takes place at... The sinners seem to be under some serious misunderstanding about what the regular checkup entailed, but Faust had obviously long given up on correcting them. I think she even partially gave up. The headquarters. The headquarters you speak of must be the headquarters of the Limbus company? Yes. Oh, we're finally getting to visit the headquarters, huh? A whole year after they hired us. We should be right on time upon immediate departure. This instant, thou sayest? Mine heart is faint prepared. Prithee, allow us some time to prepare for our travel provisions. Where's the HQ anyway? Hopefully it's not too far from here. That is a secret. However, I would like to inform you that exists in a location inaccessible via Mephistopheles. Oh, come on. How are we supposed to get there if you're not going to tell us where it is? Inaccessible via Mephistopheles. You're not about to suggest that we board the warp trains again, are you? I shan't ever board the warp trains again. Indeed, we will not be boarding a warp train for this journey. So are we taking the back doors or something? Yeah, good point. Let's take them doors instead. A sound suggestion. However, in lieu of sufficient information regarding each door, the destination may hold an element of random. Or, due to the variable nature of its activation period, the resultant destination may not reflect our intended end coordinates. Or an unexpected closure mid-passage through the journey may behoove us to bid the company our last farewells and embark on an untimely journey of no return. Are you sure this is a sound suggestion? Then I'd rather take that bloody train instead. At least we won't remember what happened once it's over and done. Battle Royale. Dude, I love Ryoshu. So, further research was necessary to ensure safe transportation to the intended destinations. Further research? Are you implying that you made modifications to the back door? A close assessment, however, it would be more accurate to say the back door was merely used as a reference. How did you even make the time for research? Weren't you doing everything with us the whole time? LCA and Faust established multiple communications within a certain new wing aspirant company during spare hours between our travels to garner multiple cooperation efforts regarding the stabilization of the back door. A new wing? Are they looking to take over Elcorp's vacancy or something? Quite sharp, Gregor, but the direction of your intuition could be improved. It is a company seeking to seize the imminent vacancy of the ever-declining W Corp. W Corp. Is that so? That makes sense. Stories of W Corp's decline have been spreading more and more as of late. I'm not surprised that some companies would consider this to be an opportunity. Newspapers also feature op-eds regarding a possible management crisis at W Corp, with many of them discussing the mysterious disappearances as well. I see, so they've been furtively planning and preparing to take over W Corp's position as a wing. But to supplement a wing even before it falls on its own? Now that's certainly peculiar. They must have something, a scheme perhaps, in the works, and to ally with such ambitious parties is the headquarters looking to start a war of the wings? At this moment, I am not privy to such details. Miss Otis, we needn't make predictions in such rashness. Recall that W Corp has been mired in troubles both internal and external, having fallen to such desperation as to seek assistance of our company. It is no wild presumption to predict that it shall crumble here the advent of such a violent pandemonium. For indeed, inefficiency is the bane of technology that brings ruination to those that fail to overcome it. Our research efforts, however, were quite efficient and successful. Its mechanisms are similar to that of the back door, but it eliminates the corridor, instead establishing a direct connection from one door to another, a portal, if you will. Oh, so you resolve all the aforementioned side effects then? Not quite. Similar difficulties to the aforementioned cases were observed. Sometimes the accuracy of the target destination coordinates were lacking, or in other cases the activation period would be cut short, causing the door to shut prematurely and amputate the subject as they were traversing between doors. There has been much progress in the stabilization efforts. However, minimizing pentasection incidents, most recent incidents have been limited to bisections. Bisections certainly is an improvement over pentasection. They both sound equally awful to me. I would not behold my own left and right shoe so cruelly sundered, forced to be so far apart upon our coming to the headquarters. Well. All this idle chatter of unnecessary concerns tells me that your bus life may have been too uneventful lately. Looks like the research arrived while you were wasting time. I saw a large and unfamiliar vehicle through the window. Is that the vehicle? It's got no windows though. How tiresome. Now off the bus. Once we disembarked the bus, we made our way into this unfamiliar vehicle of sorts. Its interior was mostly metallic, filled to the brim with convoluted-looking machines. And on the opposite end of the entrance, a massive door loomed over us. This is ominous. Assistance from P Corp in the process of developing this device was indispensable. Wait, that means in cohorts with young Sasara, are you? Hoyday, much did I aspire to regale her with the tale of the Condraft's glorious completion of mine, heroism and bravery. 'Tis quite unfamiliar of thee to meet her all by thy lonesome, young Faust. Your concerns will be taken into account next time. Faust seemed relieved. Ah, worry thee not, for thou hast availed us the sights of Limbus company headquarters. Thy tit hath been tatted for. There are numerous reasons for which you are not yet allowed into the headquarters, but as it would be a fruitless effort to explicate them all, we will not cover that subject here. You glad to hear we're not sitting through another lecture. The primary reason, however, that there are several limitations to bringing the members of our department to the headquarters, brought upon by frequent trans-nest movements and irregular scheduling of our missions. What do you say all that if you were going to explain it anyway? Wait, more importantly, what's that about collaborating with P Corp? Boy, here we go again. P Corp singularity could be summarized by the following four words: expansive space warping technology. Oh right, didn't you say that Mrs. Sarah told you something about how the principle of P Corp singularity is a lot how La Mancha lands work? Right, La Mancha land was much larger on the inside than it looked from the outside. Oh yeah, I've been meaning to ask. Don't other wings already make liberal use of different kinds of space-expanding singularities? It's how should I put this? Isn't it a bit too mundane of a city full of tech for P Corp to call space manipulation its unique thing? That was quite the intelligent question. Compliments, how nice. Ishmael is correct in suggesting that the technology to expand a given space is a commonly employed technology by other wings as well. Example of one such invention making use of space expansion technology isn't a P Corp singularity, would be Mephistopheles. The ultimate purpose of P Corp space expansion technology is to create the safest place in the world. A perfectly protected construct, its interior sheltered from the world outside no matter how severely its exterior is battered. To have a sound structural integrity no matter what it is, its interiors safe from any and all harm. Therefore, the more expensive the P Corp product is, the safer its interior is from damaging outside conditions such as extreme pressure or shock. Perhaps the way in which the interior is completely insulated from the outside is comparable to a full disconnect from the outside world, by sheltering in a separate dimension. In conclusion, the exterior of this vehicle utilizes P Corp singularity, which means that it can protect its interior for all sorts of impact, not to mention that it has enough room to hold more than 13 people inside. Don't dimensional trucks or containers also transport things to other dimensions? Think, why are you freezing up all of a sudden? There was this creepy story that used to circulate among kids back when I was in school. Here's how it goes. So a Deviate Association employee makes a delivery to her house, then looks away for a second. And a curious kid crawls into their courier truck and... I'm gonna stop the story here. Look, that story kept me up at night for a whole week, okay? I couldn't stop having nightmares about the scenario where... Hey, come on, sometimes a story is just a story. Not necessarily. Unfortunately, the story that inspired Sinclair's week-long nightmares was most likely an accurate retelling of a true story. Several regulations were added to Hannah and Devat Association rules to prevent cases of people being stored in dimensional containers. From a certain perspective, it may be said that the warp technology employed by W Corp shares a degree of similitude. The parallel lies in the fact that it also transports humans to a different dimension, the difference being that they are packaged in a safer manner. Therefore, perhaps enough of a connection exists to say that they operate on the same scale. Anywho, the point is that we'll always have access to the headquarters as long as we have this vehicle thing, right? This will certainly make logistics of communication and supply much more convenient. One more question. However, how does the company plan to move this instrument, as I expect it would be much trouble on its own? Has that detail been hashed out yet? No. In order to establish a more tangible level of communication with Limbus Company headquarters, an effective means of transportation such as this vehicle will be installed in the nests across the city. In summary, an efficient means of transportation such as this vehicle here, developed using P Corp and the aspirant W Corp's technology, will gradually be installed at various points across the city. In every nest? Of course not. The technology is still experimental. It is astronomically expensive to install and operate. Regilius gave us a firm clarification. Activating now. Faust tinkers with the various machines and contraptions within the vehicle, and the giant door from earlier began to tremble, making a loud noise. Wherefore is that gate over yonder shuddering so? Energies now linked are routing towards the gate. When the gauge displays around the glowing door filled, the door began to slowly open. Entering now. When it fully opened, Faust made her way inside like it was just another door. Well, let's follow her inside. There is a bizarre and incomprehensible noise of machines, coupled with a low droning noise. Yes, we have arrived. Welcome to the Limbus Company headquarters. This place is teeming with people dressed in all sorts of odd outfits, walking briskly between their busy schedules. I hear heavy doors opening and closing from here and there, alongside that odd sensation I've been feeling from time to time. Is the floor department of LCE department. LCE? Hopefully we get to produce a proudly stride in through the HQ's front gate one day. Right, are we waiting for something to happen, or are we suddenly unfamiliar with the concept of introducing ourselves? Given that no one appears to be willing to introduce me, allow me the liberty of self-introduction. My name is Hohenheim, the chief researcher of this company. I know that name from Full Metal Alchemist. To be precise, he's the chief researcher from the LCE department. To be more precise, I am the chief researcher responsible for the entirety of Limbus Company. To be even more precise, the only reason he retains that role is because Yi Sang and I have been excluded from the research personnel files due to our statuses as sinners. Someone must stay behind to continue the research, after all. Dude, they hate each other, I can tell. Aha, so you two are friends. While it seems entirely unnecessary to establish a label on this relationship, it could be said we are acquaintances who routinely and unwillingly maintain a regular level of communication with one another. I'm in agreement, for the first time since we are acquainted. I hear that our department has reached out several times to yours to remind you of this regular checkup. The nature of the LCB department necessitates that we are constantly on the move from one nest to another, which makes it rather difficult for us to give you an immediate reply. I would have expected somebody like you to already be well aware of that obvious detail. Yes, I was very well aware. I am also quite aware of the fact that your department has been giving us the same reply over and over again, like an answering machine. And this must be Dante, the executive manager at the Limbus Company Centers. I'd like to say hi, nice to meet you, but I don't suppose he can hear what I'm saying. The manager extends his greetings. Charmed, it is grueling and arduous work to be in the position of leadership, especially when communication issues come into play. Sometimes I cannot help but wonder if my researchers and I are even speaking the same language, so I do commiserate. How odd their clothes are. Ah yes, allow me to introduce you to Martin and Alyssa, two of the few researchers directly in my command. Are they wearing gear extracted from abnormalities? But how? Happy to have somebody who recognizes them. Are they like gears scavenged from the former L Corp? While there are partial similarities to their gears, enough differences are present to distinguish them. Indeed, we attempted our own brand of extractions, Successfully, I might add. While the news of the production of Ego Gear in Limbus Company's style was already received, this is our very first time they are observed in person. So you must have abnormalities contained in this facility. So that's why I've been sensing abnormalities in here, huh? But I'm sensing distortions in Pecatula too. That's probably wrong. Indeed, as they are containment and research subjects for the LCE department as well. Faust closely observed the Ego Gear Hohenheim was wearing like an exceptionally harsh judge in a fashion contest. Apart from a few imperfections in the finish, the level of ego extraction visible here is quite acceptable. Input appreciated. This is a product of thousands of repeated experiments and subsequent failures that have been meticulously conducted and studied in order to extract it with an acceptable level of stability. But at the end of the day, I did it like I always do. You did it? Are you sure you want to take all the credit when your team's standing right behind you? We're used to it. Oh, piss off. I'm going mad surrounded by these self-absorbed twats. I'm just about ready to get violent on some poor bastard. Let's get on with the checkup so we can get back on the bus, yeah? I feel the very same urgency as you expressed. There is much we must cover, regrettably, given that this is the first ever regular checkup performed as a group since your employment. Faust also does not wish to pass more time without substance. Let us begin. Very well. Our first task shall be to assess your abilities in response to emergency situations. Wait, he's just pressed something. Emergency situations? The walls of the laboratory suddenly started separating and sliding into place. When it settled, I realized that I had locked the sinners away in some kind of hold, isolating them from me, Regulus, and Karen. What the hell? This is just an ambush. Yes, it is. The purpose of this test is to measure your behaviors and responses in case of a surprise attack. So ambush it is. Was this just discussed beforehand, Regulus? You look anxious. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. You look anxious, Dante. Well, I suppose you weren't let on this either. I wasn't for your information. Just go with your flow, Dante. So it goes, would be an apt response. I'll find a room somewhere where Karen and I might sit down and enjoy some nice tea. Come find me with Faust once this is over. Karen wants cake too. Oh hey, we've got some leftover cake from our last office party. Come this way, please. An employee appeared and led Rebellious and Karen away into a nearby office room. Okay, so this is a regular checkup, huh? Let's get this done.
자, 어느 쪽일지 잘 생각해보라고. 좋아, 탄하구만.
뻔해. 나의 승리다.
빈틈투성이네.
또아리를 튼 뱀 근처엔 오지 말랬잖아.
완벽한 거리군.
유쾌한 결투였네. 이 거리는 충분해. 너한텐 조금 멀겠지만.
그쪽 방향이 아닐 텐데.
사격 개시.
뻔하지.
빈틈투성이네.
사격 개시.
유쾌한 결투였네.
불가
좋아,
막아내지
탄하구만.
못하리.
완벽한 거리군.
한 점만 노린다. 깔끔한 헤드샷. 머리통에 작살났다고.
틈틈.
저 시시게.
이건 예상 못했나 봐.
목을 콱 물어버리자고.
깔끔한 헤드샷. 머리통에 작살났다고.
어머, 놀랐어?
완벽한 거리.
이제 끝이시게.
깔끔하게 물었군.
We went through various tests, including commandability trials using Particular and Vidier. Park Manager Squire, hi-ho, I have attained a score most perfect. To be surpassed by Miss Don Quixote in a contest of knowledge, must I delve further in my studies? Wait, how'd she win this? Hey, you saying, bud, they were testing our Fixer Association knowledge, huh? Oh, okay, that makes sense. Totally. Honestly, she's got more than enough fixer fixation for the entire bus. All kind of general knowledge, trivia, quizzes. What's the first thing you focus on when meeting a new person? The look in their eyes, how strong they look. Bloody hell, this ain't easy. Your leadership style is strong, decisive, and goal-oriented. Marcel gets a perfect score just by giving bare-bones answers. You are Marcel? We were finally allowed to take a quick break after going through all kinds of mysterious, strange personality tests as well. Next, the basic fitness tests for all sinners. We can finally get started on the real meat of this checkup. Wait, then what were all those tests you guys were running on us? They were conducted in order to collect various data that the LCE department has been missing. In other words, we capitalized on this opportunity to fill our private curiosities. Still, I'd say it's very productive. We now know a lot about you guys that'll help us support the LCB going forward. Alright, we're going to go over some tests that could be conducted in groups first. Please form a line here. What, like this? Oh, they're all getting their height checked. Dawn's so short. Followed by Sinclair. Who is the tallest here? Dang. Rhodia is pretty tall. Let's get this over with. Looks like we've got a long day ahead of us. Wow, these are some comfy clothes they've given us. Right? I could totally see myself wearing these to sleep. Sleep, they're LCE property, so you better return them as soon as we're done here. Gotcha. By the way, can you take a look at my wrist here before we actually get started? I've been feeling a bit of soreness there, but Dante won't turn the clock for just me, you know? Turning the clock for such trivialities may cause the formation of an unfavorable habit. Perhaps Marcel can remedy your pain. I'm always prepared to administer necessary aid should you request it. Actually, you know what? I'm totally fine now. Don't you worry. Please stand still. If you think I can't see some of you on your tiptoes, you'd be very wrong. Heels on the ground, please. But my heels are on the ground. And can you snuff out your cigarettes before the test begins? Oh, this one isn't lit. It's just there so I can look cool. And what about bold but scram? Okay, so the basic group tests are complete. I seem to have forgotten something quite important I had to establish prior to beginning the tests in earnest. I need an assistant. An assistant? I need an assistant to help me smooth out the testing procedures. You got two of them already, right behind you, if you need directions. Oh, we're not Mr. Hohenheim's assistants. We're specifically assistant researchers. Yes, of course, there's much that distinguishes these two occupations. I'd like for one of you to be my assistant for the duration of this checkup. Rhodia suddenly raises her hand. I wasn't planning on asking for volunteers, but now that you've raised your hand, I'll give you the floor. Don't ask me to do it. Don't ask me to do it. It's just not my vibe, so now I'll take a research job, though. I'm a big fan of her style. Rhodia trailed off, greedily caressing the clothes of one of the researchers. What are you doing? I didn't really have you in mind anyway, but duly noted nonetheless. I would also like to refuse your nomination. The position of an assistant to Hohenheim implies that the said assistant is, when it comes to skill, inferior to the person they are assisting. Dang! Take away your frickin' thing though, and you're not very helpful. Again, I didn't have you in mind either, but your passionate expression of intent is nonetheless appreciated. I wonder who came up with this brilliant idea of putting two smart classes together to waste time, pointing out each other's minor mistakes. Uh-huh. If I were to talk about myself, I went open by saying that I was a class vice president in school, a diligent model student who assiduously facilitated the task, the class president, and ahem. What's with everyone getting so anxious to be picked here? Do you fellas actually want to be his assistant? Getting in the front and center of things is just bothersome, you know? I kind of felt like I had to apply for the position for some reason. Well, this decision has already been made. Do note that the selection criteria is fully based on my very subjective opinion. You there, orange-haired sitter. Ishmael almost threw me to the ground as she confidently strode up to the front of the line. Oof. Greeting, Mr. Hohenheim. As you must be aware, if you've taken a look at my documents, I've rarely let anyone down during my various tenures at offices and associations. You'll have nothing to worry as long as I'm by your side. He's going to ruin your day. Also, can I add this experience to my resume if I ever get a chance to submit a transfer request to work at the headquarters? Didn't know you're still holding on to that hope. I called you to ask you to move because you were standing in front of the fit center I chose. Oh dang. The music just freaking stopped. Everyone turned around to look at Heathcliff, who was absent-mindedly scratching at the bridge of his nose. Huh? Me, huh? It seems that Ishmael was even more shocked than Heathcliff was. What? But, what? Why? I'm right here. Why would you pick someone like... It's a common misconception among many researchers to assume that the higher their education level and the more elaborate the resume, the better candidate one makes for a research project participant. But that's just common sense, isn't it? At least when it comes to research. However, were you aware that the most great discoveries are made from a potent mix of spontaneity and intuition? A perfect descriptor for a friend here, I would say. Uh-huh. What say you, Heathcliff? I believe this aggressive and passionate approach of yours gives you more than sufficient qualifications to command and lead them in my stead. Is that right? He replied, scratching his head. Be honest now, you saying. You kinda looking forward to getting picked, weren't you? It is but fate that things that were once good in the eyes of mainstream are to be made less desirable with the passage of time. And when one does indeed fall out of favor, the intelligentsia of bygone days must rightly excuse themselves to the realm of memories and... Yusang replied with a particularly downcast look. I'm glad to have you on board as my new assistant. Righty-ho, so, what do we gotta do now? Nothing too complicated. You only need to liberally express your free spirit, just as you are now. Aha, now I see what he's doing. Hohenheim sure knows which one of the group to coax to make things go over smoothly. Martin whispered quietly at me in a voice that only I could hear. Oh, so he's easy to deal with. Heathcliff seemed eager to, as Hohenheim suggested, express his free spirit to the best of his capabilities. Right, you there, get in line, single file, lads. Let's make this easy for all of us. But aren't you also participating in the test with the rest of us, Heathcliff? Yeah, but I'm the assistant. Since when do you wear glasses? This is really funny. Ryoshi's not having it. She really wanted that battle royale so bad. Glasses are basic apparatuses of all researchers. Look, slightly pushing up on the glasses helps to put the air of a studious, learned individual, like so. Just like how slightly pushing up on the frames of my glasses while wondering what to have for lunch makes it seem as though I'm contemplating the more profound aspects of life. Boy, let's not make this any harder than it's gotta be, lass. Snuff out that cig in your mouth. Been a while since I heard a pig squeal. Blimey, can't you do as I say for once? Huh, he's actually pretty effective. It seems like we are now ready to conduct the tests, finally. The primary purpose of this test is to see on a physical level how your current abilities scale compared to yourselves before your hiring. I see, so they're trying to see how much they've progressed since before they joined the company. I had a feeling this would happen, but the mere mention of the words progression caused a rather loud ruckus among the listeners. If I were to speak for myself, executive manager, I can confidently say the thought of progressing as a person and in all aspects of life is ingrained into my very being. I'm sure it is, Otis. Thus, as a fruit of those efforts, I have grown to be much more precise and scathing in my critique of others' mistakes. Is that progress, though? Perhaps I have learned to let certain thoughts rest in the favor of others. I once allowed myself to be trapped in overlong ruminations on worries of all manners, idly abiding as I was consumed by my very thoughts. Now I have come to accept certain things as they are. Oh? And I've come to sometimes allow my mind to form bereft of rigorous reason, floating away gently as though on a rolling stream. Is that not quite pleasant? Okay, I guess that is progression of sorts. I'm pretty sure I'm less of a picky eater than I used to be. My grip strength is much stronger too. Oh, look, I think I'm getting calluses on my palms. Well, you don't really have to try to prove it to us. Because the enemies we're fighting have been getting stronger too. That's an undeniable truth. We did experience a pretty spectacular year, you know. A brutal year, yet so potent with significance. True, I guess growth really does come with time, huh? Right? I feel like the bonds between us got a lot deeper. We've all grown closer, you know, like glue. Like glue, huh? I like it. A certain misunderstanding seems to be brewing in tandem with this uplifting exchange of heart-to-hearts. Allow me to step in and nip it in the bud. Let me give it to you straight. All of your abilities were diminished the moment you were hired by this company, equally defanged and depowered, if you will. Equally defanged? In other words, all your abilities have been brought down to the, to the same general level as their 11th sinner here. Why am I your point of reference? If this is what you meant earlier by growing closer like glue, I suppose it is quite the apt choice of words. Boy, take that back. I take it back. So you're not really that much stronger than I am, huh? Oh dang, Sinclair is actually, like, fighting back. But I was thinking, is that the sound of yourself, a self-preservation shattering into the ether? That's it, you bloody. Excuse me, I need to know why that happened. Did we all get depowered because of the golden bow? Wait, does this have anything to do with the change that appeared when we first entered into a contract with Dante? Indeed, one of the powers of a golden bow is connection. You are now all fairly, evenly, and equally mediocre. Oh no, Sinclair's so mad. Hohenheim's comment and subsequent skit dare seem to be a bit targeted. Think of it as something akin to a Klipoth deterrence employed by the Lobotomy Corporation. So the truth is finally revealed. This is why, Otis, you were so pathetically weak the moment I joined this company. Art thou implying that thou hast always known? Of course, had I been in my prime, I could have wiped the floor with you miserable doormats in a matter of seconds. You wiped the floor with doormats? Man, we're also prone to saying whatever once the burden of proof is gone, huh? So that's why my murderous arm's been quiet ever since they hired me. It didn't really have anything to do with my heart, after all. Gregor. Oi, what's the use of all this chatter? What matters is that we've all been brought down to the level of the lad. But I got calluses on my palms. Yet not all of the Golden Bow's effects must have been a detriment to us. Yusang started carefully attempting to navigate through the conversation that appeared to be turning into a tinderbox. Was it not the advantages granted to us by the Golden Bow, impaled in the pallid whale of the Great Lake by which we triumphed? What, really? Correct. Had the pallid whale been at its full strength, it's highly likely that we may still have been trapped inside its stomach, struggling to survive. Also, it can be... Dang, that's the law of oscillos. Also, it can also be said that the diminishing effect was not applied in equal measure across all affected subjects. That makes sense, I guess. I could have never knocked out teeth with one punch if I was only as strong as Sink. It's a real handy trick, you know? Additionally, certain individual quirks cannot be suppressed by the golden bow. Certain quirks that one may be considered an individual's idiosyncrasies. Oh, so that explains Ryoshi's impressive blade work with Mr. Bumbleback at the T-Corp factory. Heh, won't waste my breath boasting. You never do anyway. Well, if your strengths have indeed progressed since the onboarding, then the average must have risen as well. One of the purposes of these tests is to measure that very difference. So what exactly goes into these tests? I know that there is a district that uses a machine that can analyze most aspects of a subject with a quick scan. So is it going to be something like that? There are dozens, if not hundreds, of ways to determine one's abilities without assistance of machinery. In fact, I know of a particularly appropriate methodology for this group. A perfectly appropriate methodology? We spent some time out of our busy schedules to tailor each test of each center to the LCD. That was pretty tough, I'll have you know. Tailored tests for each center, huh? I really don't like the sound of that, if you ask me. We will utilize the gosh darn it, the pectalia and the distortion phenomenon. That doesn't sound much like some super innovative method you were building up to. What a letdown. Right, honestly, for all the talk, I thought they'd come up with something more impressive than that. Assistant? Alright, that's enough chatter, now get in there. Let's see, first one on the blocks. Heathcliff had already begun flipping through papers in his hands. What an unfamiliar sight. Right, you and you, they're inside now. Heathcliff, the assistant, pointed towards Honolulu and Sinclair. Hello, 1-2 testing. Am I coming through? As you must be well aware by now, the pectalia are entities that have failed to even distort. It seems like we'll be fighting the pectulia again. Oh right, I have a question. It's something that's been nagging me at me the whole time since I arrived. Aren't these tests basically just us killing people for no reason? They're all safely contained, which means they don't pose any danger to him. Why seems being such a bleeding heart all of a sudden? Boy, we've been slaughtering countless scores of those sods. What's the holdup now? Yeah, but we didn't have any choice back then because we were on a mission, and do you believe that taking a life to live is unlike taking a life for the sake of it? I do. I understand. It seems that human memory is, after all, made to be finite, save for a few exceptional individuals. People are prone to misplacing memories even from yesterday. So who are they, Dante? Who do you believe they are, this group you lead? Given this expected communication difficulties between us, allow me to make this multiple choice. Question 1. Family. 2. Friends. 3. Colleagues. I guess they're closest to colleagues? Dante says 3 colleagues. Honglu was practically squished against the containment unit window, holding up 3 of his fingers. He must have heard us talk. Oh my gosh, that's such a silly image. Incorrect. It's none of the above. The truth is that they are sinners, not family, not friends, not colleagues. Prisoners. I know, but the knowledge of something and the acceptance of it must be distinguished. I learned that people are prone to forgetting their places when the going gets easy, when life becomes comfortable enough for them to consider the luxury of timely meals to be a certainty. Thus, I find these reminders to be quite useful. These sinners bound to Limbus Company are still fed. These sinners bound to Limbus Company are still fettered by their chains and shackles. Naturally, they have no access to such things as the right to refuse. Or would it be easier for you to accept the fact if I were to suggest that you considered this but a mere extension of your responsibilities? I know they're sinners, but you can't talk to them like... translations are unnecessary. I think I get the picture of what was said, given the atmosphere of the room. Dante, when you agreed to the contract, you must have made a deal of sorts to gain something to your benefit. Am I correct? Your memories, your head, and your past. There must be so much that you would like to know, and perhaps your desire to get them back is what stops you from simply quitting. But nobody can quit, though. What I mean to say with this little demonstration is that no one in this room has any right to grumble or refuse. Faust, is he usually? Yes, this is his usual demeanor. Hello, I'm not one to talk, but you don't exactly have a lot of friends, do you? Those who rise above their peers tend to attract a certain degree of hostility from others. Now, shall we begin? We are already severely behind schedule. While the combatants do what they do, please pay attention to the following presentation about Pekatala projected onto this last panel. This lecture has been prepared with the assumption that its students have an average level of knowledge. So if you consider this presentation to be boring or too difficult to understand, then you may consider your knowledge level to be below average. All this material seems quite elementary to me, not sure what's so difficult about this. Yeah, save that for when the lecture actually starts. As you must already know, there are 7 categories of Pectulia, as far as I'm aware. The highest stage of Pectulia you have observed was in stage 3 so far. Wherefore didst thou utter a little muttering of "so far at least" at the end of thine words, good sir? Sharp. Well, it's simple. We researchers have a habit of avoiding absolutes in all things. Never say never, or so they say. So you're not ruling out the possibility that we might be running into Pectalia beyond stage 3, huh? Indeed, we prefer not to put down such arbitrary. I know how to say this. I give up. Limitation. Anyway, this first type of many Petulia to be covered today is Petulia irae, red Petulia. I can't. Of wrath. The nature of fire is to burn, and burn until there's nothing left to be burned. I see they're quite literally burning with rage. Now that I think back on it, didn't you express something like that before, Sinclair? I remember you screaming so fiercely that you could hardly control your own body. On the other hand, I don't think I've ever seen you get angry or upset, Honglu. Aha, that's because the realization of meaninglessness extinguishes the reason for the spark to start a fire. Oh, I see now. No matter how much Heathcliff or Miss Otis bully me, expressing my anger at that meaninglessness at the end of the day. Okay, I did enjoy it a little when I had to accidentally step on Heathcliff's toes, but what exactly is the takeaway supposed to be here? Yes, that is exactly how it is.